everyone, this is Jennifer Stay from Coloring Pages Bliss. Thanks for joining me for my series of videos here on Coloring Like a Pro. We are on video number 4 of my 8-part series. This one we're going to talk about one of the 5 basic techniques for coloring like a pro, and we're going to talk about texture. Hi Rose, how are you doing? So we're going to talk about adding texture to your coloring. In the past videos, let me do a quick review here. We talked about trying new tools, and we reviewed a whole bunch of fun tools, so check out video number 1. We talked about coloring like a pro by choosing a good color palette, and I gave you some really good tips on how to do that. In video number 3, we talked about strokes, how to do professional strokes and use them to create feeling and to prevent damage on your paper. So that was a really fun video. And now we're going to talk about texture. This one we don't use very often, at least not the way that I'm going to show you. Ooh, intrigue. All right. Okay, as a artist drawing the coloring pages, I use texture a lot. Let me show you in my coloring book here. I use texture all the time. You know, we see it a lot in art. We add texture to drawings all the time. If you've seen an art called Zentangle, that's a whole art built around texture and repeating those textures over and over again. And some of my art has a lot of that inspired by Zentangling. So you can see a lot of texture built into my art here. But you can actually use these textures in your coloring, and it's a really fun way to change up your coloring and add some interest. And if you're getting a little stalled out in your coloring, a little bored, or maybe you've lost some inspiration for your coloring, you can turn to texture as a way to inspire you. So let's talk about that. Here's a whole little sketch I did and filled it in. Instead of with solid colors, I filled it in with textures. I used gel pens here, and I laid out just a few textures that you can use. You can see how these textures can create the same feeling of an entirely colored section, but you've used very little ink and you've created an entirely new feeling. Here I've used just a couple of those strokes again that we talked about in the last video, and we've created a texture. It was really a fun coloring page to do, and as a designer of coloring pages, I was surprised at how much fun I had, but I was also surprised that it took quite a bit longer to color the page this way than it would have if I had just colored it standard with colored pencils or markers. But the end result was really fun, and I thought I'm going to look for more ways to include textures into my coloring pages. So one of my most favorite, and you'll find this texture in a lot of my drawings, is this little texture here, this pattern. So let me show it to you. Let's see. This is just done with circles. Circle is my favorite shape. So I'll just demonstrate this to you while you build these circles like this. So textures would also be a good way to mix your media. You could come in with your gel pen and build a texture into a shape like this, and then come back with a lighter, say, colored pencil and fill in those areas that you did with the texture. Sometimes when we pick up a coloring book, the artist may have done, like, I call it copy-paste art, where they take a particular motif that they've drawn and then they copy it in some software on the computer, and then they paste it around on their page so it's the exact same motif over and over and over and over again, and it can get really boring to color that same motif over and over and over again. And so this would be a great way to add some interest to that kind of coloring book. You could add texture just like this, and then come back with a colored pencil after your ink dries and add a bunch of fun color. So your boring standard circle all of a sudden becomes a very interesting thing to color. So texture is a really interesting thing that I think we should be playing with more often. I looked up textures like this, of course, on the internet and Pinterest, and thousands of these kinds of textures come up. In the Zentangling world, you're going to come across tons of patterns like this. So there is no limit to patterns like this, and I hope eventually on my website, coloringpagesbliss.com, I'm hoping to build some swatches for you so you have some textures to pick from. If this is something that is interesting to you and you'd like me to do that, will you comment below this video and let me know if you'd like me to do that? Otherwise, I won't bother. I mean, there's a lot of that out there already, but if it's something you'd like me to do, then let me know. This is looking pretty good. I'm just having some fun here coloring in this texture. Alright, so that's one way to do this texturing. Now, I was thinking about texturing and other ways that we could apply texturing and use some of our other supplies, and the thought hit me that I have a whole stash of stamps that I could use for this very purpose, for adding texture if I was doing a coloring page. If I had a coloring page like this, say, and I wanted to add some texture. These are a little stamp set I have of little alphabet letters, and these are just some inks, the tiny little set of inks I picked up. They're Distress inks, fun color palette. I'm going to do the letter J for Jennifer. That's looking clean. So this is a great way to use a supply that I had sitting around in a new way. Ooh, I like that. That's fun. And fast. Look how fast that filled that area. Let's fill in another section with another letter. I think I'll use B for bliss. Okay, so here I used a letter C with this gold and a letter S with this coral color. Actually, I think this is fossilized amber color, and this is abandoned coral color. What fun names. Sort of tried to build up a gradient with the textures here, But this is really fun. I think I'm going to try this again, because I think as I build up on it, you hardly know that you've used the letters until you look in close. That's really fun to me, and I like using the, of course, as a girl, I'm drawn to the curly letters, and so I like that I've hidden in my initials and stuff. This is really pretty. Fun. I might have to go buy more inks. Shh, don't tell my husband. Anyway, okay, so that is really fun. I love discovering new things. Thanks for discovering that with me, you guys. Okay, let me clean these. I think I cleaned that one off. I just use a little a wet wipe, like a baby wipe, to clean my stamps. These are just rubber stamps. I don't even know. I bought this set of stamps secondhand on a little online classified site here locally. This is by Hero Arts out of California, an alphabet set. So I don't know how old this set is, or even if they're still around. So anyway, I buy a lot of stuff secondhand online when I'm not sure if I'm going to keep using them, so that I don't spend a huge amount of money and then regret it later. So that's a good tip. Also, another good tip is if you invest in something like a set of markers or something, and then you find you don't use it much, I encourage you to donate them. If you like, markers are going to dry up over time, so donate them to your local elementary school or high school and let those kids use them rather than letting them dry up, or sell them, of course, but donating them is a really great idea. Those kids are going to use them, and you might inspire the next big artist. All right, so we have officially covered our technique number 2 in our Color Like a Pro series. And we now know about adding texture to our coloring pages. So I'd love to see some of you guys use this technique. Add some texture to your coloring pages and come to my Facebook page. It's Coloring Pages Bliss on Facebook, and post some of your pictures with your textures in it. I'd love to see what you guys use if you try out this stamp technique. Please, I'd love to see that. Fill up a coloring page and post it on my Facebook page. I'd love to check it out and see. Let's see what we can do. Let's push the boundaries of this art, and let's make this grow and get some new tools. Let's get these art companies to make us some new tools, and let's see what we can do. So tune in for the next video. On number 5, we're going to talk about bolding. This was probably the very first technique I ever used that I felt like, whoa, I am a pro. So we'll check out video number 5. And again, my name is Jennifer Stay with Coloring Pages Bliss, and have a wonderful, blissful day.